Hello and welcome to My Community is Durham. I'm Mark Suknanen.
And I'm Morgan Hoffman. Every week, Mark and I venture out into the Durham community to meet your neighbors.
The creative, the unsung heroes, and people just like yourself who make Durham Region such a vibrant community to live in.
Today, we're at the Whitby Courthouse Theatre, where history is still very much alive. According to Gail Young, an avid Ghostbuster, spirits from the past still walk through the Whitby Courthouse Theatre on a regular basis.
Spirit is definitely what keeps Dee Miller going. She has turned a devastating disease into a way of helping others.
And later we'll explore Oshawa to enjoy some surprising architecture.
Hey Morgan, I was just recently at the Whitby Courthouse Theatre.
Did you see any ghosts?
Well, let's just say that Gail Young turned me into quite the Ghostbuster.
This I have to see.
So why is the basement such a creepy place?
Because I have a tunnel that runs underneath the floor.
Oh. Gail Young is a witch. Her mission, ghost busting. And she believes that most of Durham is haunted.
I'm a medium. I can hear, see, feel, touch, smell, and taste. I use all senses. And when I mean I can see them physically. I just don't see them in my mind like some people can. I see them physically like I can see you. And I've had this since I was all my life. There's a gentleman that sits here. You can see this going off. He's short. He's only got one leg. Do you see the meter going off?
Yeah, so how do you know that he only has one leg?
He told me. Maybe it's a gift. I don't know. I used to think it was a curse because I was the only one that was seeing it. When my girlfriend passed away at 16, I saw her and it scared me because I went to her funeral. And I used to say, why? Why me? Why is this happening to me? And I was one of those scared little kids, pretty much scared of her own shadow. But you just do not talk to other friends about it.
I'm right behind the door here. I could have sworn I just heard somebody breathing.
The Whitby Courthouse is one of the most haunted places in Whitby. We had a jail on this property where a lot of prisoners were tortured. They were, how to use the word, shanked, beatings. Back then, bodies were buried in the courtyard.
And some of them may have made their way to what Gail calls the hallway of death.
Now he's actually a judge. He's buried in the cemetery.
Now, searching for ghosts sometimes isn't so easy. Gail uses a device called a parabolic to catch the most elusive entities.
Make a noise. I'm unable to come in, but if you could make a noise for me, Emily, I'd appreciate it. People have died here. People have died in here. They have died in the basement. They have been beaten half to death. So it's no wonder this place is haunted. It's very active, usually when it's storming and raining. I have a feeling they're watching me right now.
Gail is on the lookout for ghosts all over Durham, but she doesn't have to look far. She believes they're in her own home. One of the many ways she brings them to the table, literally, is through a seance.
There's also a spirit here by the name of Eroy. Oh, thank you, Eroy. You're always here, aren't you, honey? Thank you. I know that was you. I know, I will. Will you make the candle dance, Eroy? Make the candle dance. The middle one. He's asking which one. I said the middle one.
Gail says there are spirits around you all the time. We may not see them, but Gail sure can. Her Her gift has shown her the other side of life, and that when a loved one passes away, they don't exactly go away.
Mark, did you actually hear a ghost behind that door?
I heard papers rustling, and Gail told me that it was a secretary that used to work there in the 1800s.
Really?
Yeah.
That's creepy. To find out more about Gail Young, visit durhamsmosthaunted.com.
Coming up next, remembering the classics.
In a world full of souped-up imports and decked-out rides, the very roots of classic cars are often forgotten. But as Matt Hallworth discovered, there's a group of people passionate about keeping the classics alive and showing them off whenever they can.
When the heat is on in the heart of summer, a group of enthusiasts gather. In their hearts is a passion for sleek curves, stylish designs, and roaring engines.
I drive this car as soon as I can in the springtime, right till the first flake of snow. I drive it every day, to and from work. We do all the running around with it. It's just a pleasure to drive. Easier on gas than the new cars are, believe that or not.
We have a horn here that's not really original equipment, but I'd like you to hear it. Thank you. It's a toy. Everybody's got to have their toys, and when I retired from General Motors back in 1992, I wanted to have a toy to play with, so I wanted to get out and about with my convertible.
Everybody likes to compare their vehicles, see what people have done to them, whether they're original or customized. The car culture also likes the charity aspect of being able to contribute to various local charities through the 50-50 draws. And it's always nice to get out in good weather and show off your shiny vehicle.
Gary Carson loves his '63 Ford Fairlane and always finds enough time to tinker with it.
On a weekly basis, probably 5 or 6 hours a week. Just basic work, and then there's always something else that comes along that needs more attention. And then I have to find a good mechanic then.
At only 10 years old, Eric Lee can't wait to drive his 1970 Dodge Dart Swinger.
It's gonna be great. I think, well, it's gonna be like driving in 1970s and 60s. They really were great cars, and if you got a Hemi in one of these things, it would fly.
To Eric's father, Ian, it is a great bonding experience.
So what's the next thing we're gonna do on this car, Eric?
We're gonna take off the air cleaner, see what's under the air cleaner.
Maybe do some work on the carburetor? Yeah? No?
But we're gonna take the air cleaner off so the people watching can see what's under there.
Yeah. With Eric, it really started in 2002. We bought a '69 Dodge Charger, and so that was 8 years ago. It's just about ready to be put on the road now. It's actually being safety checked right now. So Eric's Eric was 2 years old at the time. He's been more or less brought up around cars, and that's really how his interest started. And then 3 years ago, we were really lucky to win this car at Mopar Fest.
For Mike Dobson, his 1934 Plymouth sedan is a great way to connect with the past.
When we were young growing up, we were into the muscle cars back in the 60s and 70s as we were growing up, and then you get married and have your family and your kids and that, and then it gets to a point in time where you can get back into it again. And what the amazing thing is that we're meeting a lot of our friends from back in the old days that are getting back into it also, and building cars, and we go to shows together and have a lot of fun.
Mike's wife, Judy, enjoys the social aspect of the culture.
It doesn't stop when you put the car away. It continues through the winter. We connect once a month, we meet for dinner, and everybody kind of reconnects and what's happening with each other. We have some friends that go away for the winter, go south, but we always have a dinner before they go, and when they come back, we all reconnect. It's great.
Classic cars is a passion for enthusiasts of all ages, whether they have their licenses or not. They gather all across North America to meet, discuss, live, and breathe cars, and Durham region is no exception.
Well, how much are we going to spend on the car this year, dear?
Not much, I hope, dear.
Wow, Eric knows a lot about cars for not even having his license yet.
Classic car enthusiasts meet all the time around Durham region to discuss and compare their rides, but it's not all about cars. It's a great chance to meet new people and hang out with your family.
When people say everything happens for a reason, that couldn't be more true for Dee Miller. She's turned a negative experience into a positive one, helping cancer survivors all over the Durham region.
You're nice and square, sitting up on your sit bones, hands off your knees, and pick one right up, point the toe, and back down.
Dee Miller is a mover and a shaker. You might say she has a hard time sitting still. But 6 years ago, Dee's life turned upside down when she was diagnosed with cervical cancer.
I had done everything right. I ate properly, I was active. I mean, I own personal training companies. How could I have done everything right and had cancer? It blew me away, and it took a really long time to actually accept the fact that I could have cancer.
With early detection, Dee is cancer-free, but her experience caused awareness of the effects of cancer treatment.
I was so lucky. I just had surgery, where I didn't have to go through chemotherapy and radiation. I just had surgery, but even with the surgery, I felt fatigue. And so I could just imagine what a cancer patient that was going through chemotherapy and or radiation was going through. Can you imagine months and months and months of sitting around? Your whole body atrophies, your muscles atrophy. And not only are you feeling terrible because of all the treatment, but with your body not being strong anymore, it's so difficult to do anything.
With the help of government grants, Dee founded a nonprofit organization helping anyone recover after cancer treatment.
Renewed Strength is a charity that helps cancer survivors in Ontario get their strength and mobility back after treatment. What we do is offer free exercise programs on either a DVD or a VHS that as soon as their doctor says they can exercise, they get for free. I started doing the research because we wanted to make sure all cancer patients would be able to do it. We wanted it somewhere that they didn't need to go to a gym, they didn't need anything special. So we used a kitchen chair. And from a kitchen chair, what exercises can you do to help increase your strength and mobility? Weak ankles are a major problem because sitting all the time, you need your legs, you need your ankles to be strong. So just sitting and doing calf raises, something as simple as that can help you moving along. We know more people fall and break their hips due to weak ankles. So, I mean, just sitting and working on your ankles, you're sitting anyway, can help you.
Dee biked for 100 days, delivering her program to every cancer center in Ontario. But her journey was just beginning.
After traveling around for the last 5 years and going to all the cancer centers in Ontario, which was fabulous, I wanted to have a place that cancer patients could come, feel comfortable, feel relaxed, have food if they wanted something to eat, have a place that they felt was their own.
In 2009, Dee opened Renew Studio in Ajax, offering free exercise classes and healthy meals to any cancer survivor.
Is that any better? Okay, other side.
Judy Saul is recovering from 18 weeks of chemotherapy and 5 weeks of radiation treatment.
It gets me out of the house every day, gets me going early in the morning. We have some laughs here. It's nice because there's other cancer patients, but there's also people who don't have cancer, so you're not surrounded by people with cancer every single day. And she knows, all my aches and pains and my complaints, which is great. I really have been appreciative of all that she's offered here, and can't say enough about her.
Her studio is also open to anyone looking to exercise while supporting a great cause.
Every time somebody eats here, the money goes back to the charity. Every time somebody does a class, the money goes back to the charities.
With the help of her mother, Dee also sells clothing and accessories at the studio to help her charity.
All of the heart jewelry goes right back. It's all Renewed Strength, so that's fundraising. And then I'm also a part owner in Me&D Fashion and Accessories. So a percentage of all of the clothes that you see, the money goes back to the studio.
Bring the arms up, reaching out, arch through the back, stretch.
I have the ability to be able to help somebody, and that's the most important thing to me. When you see a cancer patient that comes in and they can't even get out of a chair without help, and a couple months later they've gone back to work and have their glow, that's what drives me. That's the most incredible feeling in the world.
Dee offers a variety of exercises from body blast to gentle yoga with weights.
Renew Studio is located at 60 Randall Drive in Pickering Village. To find out more about Dee's fundraising efforts, visit renewedstrength.ca.
Coming up, entering the world of Mariana's kitchen.
The architecture of the Centennial Building is beautiful. Whitby is full of gorgeous structures, but for Joe Marion, the buildings in Oshawa hold special appeal.
When you think of amazing architecture, the last place you think of is Oshawa. But the streets are actually filled with unique buildings with history that goes back to the 1800s. Joe Marion is with Heritage Oshawa, and he just loves to explore the architecture of downtown Oshawa.
So Mark, this is the Simcoe Street United Church. This was designed in the 1867, in the year of our Confederation, by a significant architect, probably one of the most significant architects in early architecture of Canada, Henry Langley. He was trained a lot of the architects that came later. This was built out of local buff brick. These bricks were made in Oshawa, and Oshawa was known for this color brick.
Okay.
But it's a beautiful building.
Yes.
It has these great dimensions, great proportions. It's one of the only buildings that we have today that have, in Oshawa, that has these carved stonework.
Oh, okay.
We call those label stops. So,
Labels, okay.
Yeah, but most of them are gone. So this is really significant for us to have this remaining beautiful piece of architecture in Oshawa. You know, this was such a significant building in Oshawa. It was built by the Gibbs family. They were the second dynasty of Oshawa. Such a prominent building and this was sort of showed the prominence of Oshawa that would be to come, right? So that's why they would usually build these large buildings.
The Simcoe Street United Church reflected those who lived in the 1800s. A century later, the buildings changed and modernized. One of Joe's favorites built in the 1900s is the Oshawa Public Utility Building, today known as the PUC.
So Mark, we're at the PUC building. This building was built in 1931. Electricity came to Oshawa in 1887, but we didn't really own the utility until 1929. So then when they bought the utility, they decided they needed a building for it. This building was built for $60,000 in 1931.
Wow.
But this was designed in the Art Deco style, and Art Deco was really the prominent style in the 1920s and 30s, and it sort of reflected what was going on in society at that time.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can see that they took some of the historical stylings from history. We have pedimented windows and these kind of towers, but they streamlined them and stylized them.
Okay, because there's not as much as there would be for older buildings. It's very simple.
It's very simple, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was the idea. It was now they're going to be going from this historical age and they're going to go into the modern industrial age, right? Okay. With the beautiful lights and the stylized brick and the sculpted stonework. Right?
Yeah.
So it is really quite cool.
The Janosh Hotel was a well-known hotspot years ago. Currently it isn't occupied, but Joe believes that it has great potential.
So Mark, now we're here in front of the Janosh. The Janosh was built in 1929. This was really an important event in the city of Oshawa, to have a beautiful hotel, like a first-class accommodations.
Okay, so like for higher class upper people to come here and just hang out?
That's right. We had our conventions, and General Motors was really rising in power. We were building a lot of cars. It was the center of car building in Canada, so we really needed a first-class hotel.
Yeah.
So the significant thing about this as well is that it's built in the Chicago style.
Which
so a lot
means...
of people, a lot of people don't understand that, but if you think about back to Chicago and Al Capone in the 1920s.
Okay.
You can sort of envision that type of building.
Yeah.
And it was really prevalent in Chicago and
like right out to the sidewalk here.
Right out to the sidewalk, yeah. So they didn't really have a grand entrance.
Is there like a reason for that, or is it just the style of the day of what they would do back then?
It was just the style of the day.
History is a hobby for Joe. If you were to ask him any question about Oshawa, he'd probably know it. His knowledge and dedication to Oshawa is fascinating. So the next time you pass by a building in Oshawa, take another look because you might be surprised at what you see.
Who knew all those buildings had so much history?
I never would have thought that the Janosh building used to be a happening hotspot years ago.
You can go to heritageoshawa.com for more information about Oshawa's exciting past.
When working in a kitchen for over 200 guests, strong leadership is a must. Executive chef Mariana Kopik knows how to whip her staff into shape, but she's not as tough as she appears.
Christian, can you please take that upstairs?
That's what I'm going with.
Yeah, as in ASAP.
We call her the little drill sergeant. She can be at times.
Some days it can be a little hard, but for the most part, she's an awesome woman. I've learned a lot from her.
I'm tough, but I'm fair.
Mariana has been cooking since she was 4 years old. Her love for customer service drew her to the hospitality industry, spending most of her career in management. But her passion for food continued to draw her attention to the back of house.
12 years ago, my partner, who is a chef, I've spent some time critiquing him, as I call it. He called it a little different. In his work, and every restaurant that he worked at, I found something to critique about. And finally he said, well, why don't you put your money where your mouth is? And I did. And I entered the kitchens, and I've been there ever since.
Preparing dishes for over 200 guests is just another day at Mr. C's. Working in a kitchen of this size definitely has its fair share of challenges, but Mariana has never felt more in her element as the executive chef.
Well, cooking is my passion. And when you're passionate about something, regardless of how hard it is, because kitchen is very hard work, very hard physical work and psychological, but you enjoy it because at the end of the day, especially when things go well, there's that satisfaction, the customer happy, the people walking away with smiles on their faces, loving the evening, loving the food, and that's your personal satisfaction.
The success of a kitchen isn't possible without a great team. From chefs to dishwashers, Mariana leads a brigade of 40.
I think I have the best team ever. A lot of them have been here for quite some time, but the new additions are amazing. There's some new talent, new techniques they bring to the table, so it's very exciting working with them. They are very enthusiastic and passionate. It isn't just a job.
We have a very close relationship. Mariana is a very fun, loving person, and she's very easy to get along with. As a matter of fact, our office is next door. You know, we have our occasional, chefs, we have our occasional spat, but at the end of the day, she'll come in and she'll say, Everett, that was a personal, and I would say, Mariana, because I can hit back too, she'll say, Mariana, that was a personal, but we have a very honestly, a very close working relationship.
Are we in good shape for the banquet? Are we doing good, or we're everything on time? Yeah. Fabulous, thank you. I'm very passionate, so I have a kind of known personality where it can go up and down, high or low, because to me it's all-consuming customer service. Deer Creek is part of that, but Deer Creek is secondary to the customer. So when something doesn't go right, obviously I'm not a very happy camper, but when things go right, well, I'm ecstatic and showing it. So yeah, that's my personality.
Mariana never thought in a million years she would be working in a commercial kitchen, but now she can't imagine surviving without one.
The biggest victory is when you create a menu, especially for a client, and you can execute it flawlessly, present it beautifully, and they are just ecstatic at the end of the evening. I think that's your biggest victory for the kitchen. Everybody feels great about it. How is the cutting of the vegetables going on? Good? You enjoying it?
Yes.
Mariana joined the team at Mr. C's in 2008 and quickly worked her way to the top.
And you don't have to be a member of Deer Creek Golf Clubs in Ajax to enjoy Mr. C's. Anybody can experience the delicious menu created by Mariana herself.
For more information about My Community is Durham, or if you have a great story idea, visit rogerstv.com.
know that the Centennial Building was first built in the early 1850s as the Ontario County Courthouse?
It served as a trial court from 1854 to 1964.
And many ghost stories have circled the region about this very building.
Like the one that people still see a dog that turns into a tall man with burning red eyes.
And many people see the lights go on and off as ghosts descend from the balcony of the old courthouse, which is now the theater.
That's pretty scary.
That is really weird. That's creepy.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm Mark Supnanen.
And I'm Morgan Hoffman, and my community is Durham.
And my community is Durham too.
Did you feel that?